Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, What's New with Salesforce Summer 17 Release. My name is Andy Cluck and I'm on the marketing team here at Ledgely Partners. We're a Salesforce Silver Consulting Partner. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, Ledgely Partners helps businesses transform their approach to sales, marketing, and customer service by aligning these teams to focus on improving their customers' overall experience, while also providing management with metrics through technology to evaluate their success. So today, the Salesforce Summer 17 release is out. This is their 53rd product release. It's jam-packed with loads of new and improved features. Today we're going to spotlight top new features Salesforce users and admins can and should start taking advantage of right away, and that's going to empower everyone to be their best. But before I turn things over to our presenters, today I just have a couple of those housekeeping items to cover. First off, today's webinar is being recorded, and that's going to be available on demand after the live session. All attendees will receive an email shortly following this webinar, and that's going to have a link to access the presentation on demand. We encourage you to share this with your team and network as well. To ensure the best audio quality, we do have everyone in listen-only mode, but if you do have a question, please submit those in the question pane of the GoToWebinar control panel. We do have a lot to cover today, so we promise to follow up after the webinar to answer any questions that you do submit. All right, now it's time to introduce our presenters. If you were with us when we covered the spring release a few months back, we once again have the dynamic duo of Ben Doler and Tony Clemens presenting today. They have combined 14 years of experience in the Salesforce environment. Guys, we can't wait to hear how Salesforce is heated up for Summer 17, so it's all yours. Ben, I do think you have your screen still paused, so you might want to hit play on that, but take it away.
I do. You're correct.
No problem.
So, yes, as Andy mentioned, my name is Ben. Also with me is Tony, and we'll be covering a variety of topics from Summer 17. And up here on the screen, I have an agenda for us to go over. So we have a lot more topics to cover than we did when we were looking at Spring 17. But that's because a lot of these are much smaller updates. So in spring, there were some really big components that were released. They did that for summer as well, but there was a lot of small things that we want to address this time around in summer because there's a lot of things that people seem to want or that will just speed up processes within inside of Salesforce, whether you be in Lightning or in Classic. So we'll also address some of those topics as to where some of these release points fall. So without further ado, let me get started with the first item, which is keyboard shortcuts. So traditionally, keyboard shortcuts, these apply only in Lightning. They only used to be part of the console app. So if you had Sales Console or Service Console, you were privy to having shortcuts within the system. Well, they've taken and expanded it out now to general users within Lightning. So they've come out with at least some initial ones. It looks like they're going to be expanding this over the course of time, but they want to start with some of the quick and easy ones out of the gate, such as editing records, doing searches, saving records. So if you're familiar or use word processing like Microsoft Word or even any Google Docs, you'll know that just sometimes it's very automated. Just use Control-S to do a save. Back when Windows was troublesome, everyone seemed to want to do that so they wouldn't lose their work in the event that something happened while they were working on the document. So it becomes second nature just to hit Control-S. Well, Salesforce took that and implemented that into their records as well, so that while you're working on the record, you can just hit Control-S and it'll go through and save your information to that record without having to scroll and look for that save button. Some of the other ones, just escaping out of records. So if you're in any sort of edit mode, you can just hit the escape key to jump out of it and get back to your original screen. And then to access that, it's using Control or Command, whether you're Windows or Mac, and the / key by the question mark. So let me jump into our demo org here and just show you how quick this will make editing and working with records while you're navigating through the system. So if you're moving along and you're going into and looking at specific accounts or contacts or leads, and you get into one of these, in the past, you could be going through and you could be finding a field and you could be double clicking on a field and making an adjustment to it and say, well, I need to change this to 125, and I'm still navigating through and looking for a piece. And then when I'm done, I have to scroll down and click on save. Well, if you wanted to edit the entire record all at once, you could just, and you unfortunately can't see this, so you have to take my word for it, without touching anything, not using the mouse, if I just hit the letter E on my keyboard, I'm brought up into the edit mode. And from here, I can go through and tab and make adjustments, but again, without touching my mouse. And maybe I say, no, this is 125. And from here, I can just hold my control key and hit Control S, and it'll go through and save it. And I didn't have to touch my mouse at all to do any of that. Now, as I mentioned before, they've started with a smaller list. They're probably going to be expanding this as time goes on. To access this, you can use Control and the / key, which is the question mark, or Command, and it brings up your shortcuts. So anyone can bring this up and look to see what are my options, what can I do with the shortcuts now. And as this list grows, then you can keep hopping in here to see what's been added to it or what's been changed over the course of time. And then to close any of those, I just hit the Escape key. Again, I didn't have to touch my mouse to do any of that. So that's kind of a neat feature because if you get into users who are heavy on the keyboard, who don't like to have to move the mouse around a lot, maybe not so much from a sales perspective, but you get into Service Cloud and service users, that's what they're familiar with. They want speed. They want to be able to do anything with just a few keystrokes and not have to get their hands off the keyboard. This will speed that up a lot just through core navigation and being able to edit basic records. All right. Activity timeline was the next piece that we wanted to outline. So this is available only in Lightning, again. A few releases back, and when Lightning came out, they made some enhancements to the activity timeline and how it looked. They've further enhanced that now so that not only can you see the timeline events, whether they were past or whether they're current events coming up, but they've gone and expanded that so that now you can see all the details right within that timeline, and you don't have to go into the actual activity records to view them. So if you're looking at calls or meetings or events that have taken place or emails, before you'd have to click on the actual name of that, the title of that activity to go into the activity record to view the details of it. Now you can just expand that and view it right there on the activity timeline without having to leave the record. And they've even go so far as for emails, and from what we've seen is emails that have been sent after the summer release date, you'll have actions right on the email to be able to reply and forward right from there without having to go anywhere else to do it. You can still do it right from the same record while you're on it looking at the activity itself. So just to show this in context, let me jump back into my record here. So I'm still on that same account, the one I was just on before, this 5 Season Sports. And if I come down and look at my activity timeline, I have mine tucked away over here on the right. And depending on what you have configured within your system, if you're using Lightning, it could be over on the tab over here. It could be the primary tab. For this instance, we have it configured over here on the side. If I click on any of these little arrows, I can expand the details of what this was. So I no longer have to actually go into the record itself, like clicking into the call to figure out what was it related to, what were the comments, what was the information related to this record. I instead can just expand this piece and look to see what the details are. Or if I look at an email, I can actually see the entire email body within this timeline. And when it comes to the email, if I see that something I need to reply to or something I need to handle right away, scroll a little, I can immediately reply to this email or do a forward on it. So I can reply to it and put in a few notes right from here. Like, thanks for the info, and send it right from here without having to navigate anywhere else. And this will just update my timeline, and I'm still on the same record. I haven't had to go anywhere else. So they're really trying to cut down on the amount of action that you have to do, the amount of clicks you need to go to get somewhere by making everything readily available in one location. And by enhancing this timeline, they've really done that when it comes to emails and keeping track of events and tasks that have been going on with specific records in your instance. All right. So another piece, and this was a bigger one because this one was rolled out for both Lightning and Classic. This is across both of the platforms. And that's the enhancement to duplicate detection. So if you're not aware, if you have a Salesforce instance, you automatically have duplicate detection rules in place. They're not activated, but they're there and available for you to use. In the past, this was stored under, in the setup menu, there was a spot for data.com because this all runs off the data.com engine. And there was duplicate rules and matching rules. And Salesforce had basically set up a system that said, even if you don't have data.com licenses, you still have the capabilities to use the data.com engine for duplicate management so that you can try to prevent duplicates from getting into the system. Well, they've taken that, it's been rearranged a little. It's no longer in, there's no longer it's not in the data.com piece of the menu, but there's a whole duplicate management piece under data management in the setup menu. They've gone and expanded that functionality. So in the past, you could set up rules that would cross-check their own objects. So you could say, I want a lead rule that looks at leads. I want accounts to look for accounts, contacts. What they've done is they've now set up some standard rules to go cross-object functionality so that you can have a rule that says, I want to have, anytime someone creates a contact, I not only want to look at the contact object, I also want to look at the leads object. Or vice versa, whenever someone creates a lead, I don't only want to look at my leads, I want to look at my contacts object to see if that person exists there, rather than having them spin up a whole new lead when in fact this is already an existing customer of ours residing in contacts. So they've went and created these new rules. They're available in your org to just go and enable. But one of the other neat enhancements about this is that they've also opened up cross custom objects functionality for these rules. So not only can you use the default ones, you can go in and create your own and set up a rule where you say, okay, when one of my reps creates a lead, not only do I want to look at leads or contacts, I want to look at one of my custom objects to see if this person's information resides there. Now, if that were to occur, Salesforce won't let you do a merge. So you can't go in and say, oh, I want to merge these together, because now we're talking about crossing objects and there's other pieces that come into play from a database standpoint. But they do bring them to the surface so that you can see that they're there so that the user can then take appropriate action. They can decide, no, I do actually want to set this up as a lead and I want to put it in the system, or no, I don't. This is actually, I didn't realize that they were in this custom object we configured. I should go over there and find out their information and start with that instead. So when you're looking at this cross-object function, the default rules, there's a couple of pieces that image you see on the left about finding potential duplicates. That was actually released a couple of releases ago, but it's interesting to bring to the forefront because it's also active where, from a Lightning standpoint, this piece is actually only available in Lightning. You can, just from looking at a record in the system, whether it be leads or contacts, accounts, it'll show you whether it found duplicates. But that piece that's on the right shows the screen that will come up when it looks at duplicates. And in this instance, it was just looking at leads and contacts, but it will actually go out all the way into custom objects as long as you say, I also want to look at a custom object when you're configuring that rule. So in the screen we've got here, and I'll jump into a demo in our org as well. In this instance, I went in and created a lead, and I did this in Classic. When I do the demo, I'll show it in Lightning because we've got a few other things we want to show in Lightning before we get back into Classic. But if I went in and put in a lead and started to look for information and put it in, it actually went back and looked back and said, hey, wait a second, we have this individual's contact information already set up on this custom object that we called motorcycles. Are you sure it's not this one, and do you want to be creating a whole new lead for this? Because the rule we had configured said, when I create new leads, I also want to look at these specific fields on the custom object in motorcycles, just to make sure that this person doesn't reside there. So let me show how that piece looks in real life. If I jump right in the lead, so I'm back in my instance here. If I jump into my lead, so I've got this, now this initial part's in Lightning only for duplicate detection while you're looking at records, but the other piece is available in both. And I'll show both of those components. So first I'm going to jump into Bob Smith just to look at his lead record. And, oh, I might have lost my connection there for a second. Hold on, we'll make sure we get into Bob Smith here. There we go. So this other piece, this has been available for a couple of releases, but it does pertain to all this duplicate detection. So, and if you expose this Lightning component on your Lightning page, and you can have it exposed anywhere. You can have it tucked away underneath one of these tabs if you're creating tabs. You can have it over on the right. You can have it as a top component. Oh, excellent, jumped out there. You can have it as a top component, but it will essentially do comparisons against the data you have against the rest of the data in your system. And I know that's been a long-standing issue with customers in Salesforce, that once a piece of data is in the system, how do I then compare it against the rest of the data in the system? They've handled that in the Lightning side. So if you expose this component, it will actually keep track of that information so that when you jump in and start looking at things, you can see, oh, where do these duplicates reside? Now, I'd set up a rule that says I want to compare leads against my custom object motorcycles. So in that case, it was also doing a comparison and saying, oh, you have this lead, Bob Smith, but it looks like it also matches this motorcycle record, which has an owner of Bob and last name of Smith with a different email and different phone, but we were matching just off a name in this case. So that's a pretty neat feature to have within your page layout if you're using Lightning. It's just as simple of editing the page and dropping it on, and it'll start sifting through records and looking for duplicates that you might have within your data. Now, regardless if you're using Lightning or Classic, the other piece to this would be creating a new lead. So let me show that. So if I go in and create a new lead, and I'll put in a phone here, and we need a name. We'll go with Robert this time, Smith. Now, on Lightning, as soon as I start going through this, it's already bringing up a warning because it's doing an active search immediately. On Classic, it won't do this until you hit save, but it will do it regardless in both sides, whether you're using Classic or Lightning. So let's see. Let me just continue filling this out. someone@gmail.com. So I get to the end here. It's already gone through and looked for duplicates. I don't even have to click save. I can immediately jump in and view duplicates. And we'll see that when I do, within Lightning, it's showing me I've got a lead here and I've also got a motorcycle record, both that match. So does it belong to one of these? Should I be working on one of these? Can I open this lead? Or should I go and open this motorcycle record? Or should I just continue on and close out of this and hit save because I do want to save it as a lead? On the Classic side, it will do something similar to that screenshot I had brought up, and let me jump back into that here. Close this to get out of there. So, it'll bring up a series like this as soon as you click on save. So in here, it would bring up both objects and say, I have a lead, and here's the lead information, and I have a motorcycle record, and here's that information. And it'll show two possible duplicates. Do you want to continue on and save this, or do you want to edit one of these existing records? So there's a lot of neat new functions within duplicate detection. Being able to get into custom objects is a huge advantage if you start storing potential customer information. Maybe you're a B2B and you have your dealers or your distributors in as accounts, but you have customer information actually on those records within a custom object. This is huge for that because now you can start tracking that information, and if someone's about to put that information in as a potential lead of a new customer through a distributor, you can instead be tracking that to find out, do they already exist somewhere in an account someplace or in a record someplace in a custom object. So there's some really neat new functionality when it comes to that duplicate detection engine, and everyone has that capability. So make sure that if you're not using it today, and you have if you are an admin or you can get a hold of your admin, have them go into the setup and look for duplicate rules and matching rules so they can get some of that enabled to help prevent some of the duplicates you might encounter going forward. Okay, and with that, we're going to jump into Kanban summaries, but I'm going to turn this over to Tony for now, and he's going to lead us out.
Awesome, thanks, Ben. So like Ben said, we're going to go over some Kanban summaries and what's changed with that. And this is only available in Salesforce Lightning, so unfortunately Kanban is not in Classic. So what's changed with the Kanban summaries? So historically you could only do summaries of numeric fields, or currency fields, and now you're able to do numeric fields. So numeric fields can be summarized not only in leads or whatever you're using Kanban with, but in all sorts of other objects as well. So let's show how you can do that. Let me jump in here. Okay, so when I come in here, so I have an object favorited. So we have our opportunities here, and as it sits right now, we have it, the Kanban summary of currency. So what you're able to do is come in here under your Kanban settings, click here, and then now you can see an option of quantity. So if I click that, hit save, now it's grouping all of these opportunities by the quantity instead of the currency. So 600 widgets, 200 widgets. So it's the quantity of the product within your opportunity. So whatever that quantity field is on your object, that's what it would group by under the Kanban. So that is new. And then also, it's not necessarily specific to opportunities. So if you have other objects that have numeric fields, you would be able to do that within the Kanban settings as well for those other opportunities or other objects. So that is the Kanban summary update. Next, we have opportunity searching. So this is actually available both in Lightning and Classic. Pretty neat new feature for Summer 17 here. What you're able to do actually is within an opportunity, there's specific information. So I'll bring up our demo org and show you an example, but kind of to give you some vision on how it works is if you have multiple opportunities of the same product, for example, we'll show it's Acme 500, so there's 500 widgets that you're selling to multiple different clients. You're actually able to, within the searching bar, type in that opportunity name, which may be 500 widgets, but that isn't unique to the account. So you're able to add the account name in, and it gets specific to that actual opportunity within Salesforce. So this is new with summer of 17, and it's nice because you're able to not necessarily have to remember the whole opportunity name and get to the information you're looking for. So let me jump into that. And I'm actually going to go into Classic for this one so that you can see that you're able to do that as well in Classic. So I am now in Salesforce Classic. So let's say I have 500 widgets. So you can see there too, it shows that there's multiple. So we have 4 500 widget opportunities. So this may not be the best example because there's not as many, but let's say you have a full, you'd have to search and go through multiple pages to be able to see the opportunity you're looking for. So now that I, have 4 that are 500 widgets, what I can do here is now add in Acme, which is the account I actually want to look at. Hit search, and it comes in specifically for Acme. And I'll actually, here's some time here. I'll show it in Lightning as well. Very similar. So if I type in 500 widgets, here's some additional. So 500 widgets, same result here, but just like Classic, I had the name, gets me down specifically to the account name. So this, like I said, this may not be the best example, but we don't have as much data in our org. So if you had multiple different results coming up with the 500 widget search, then being able to search with the account name is definitely a huge benefit and is new with Summer 17 here. So with that, we'll go back. So the next piece is Migration Assistant. So this would be, if you're in Classic today, and I know I've talked about this a few times, the Salesforce has this tool called Migration Assistant, and what you're able to do is see if you were to move the Lightning, how much effort would that be, and what needs to happen in your org prior to doing that change. So with Summer 17, they made it more clear and concise. Tabs are highlighted and show you the different transition, and they focus on specific tasks. Also, you're still able to look at your readiness report, and you can preview it as often as needed, so that will be there once you run that. So I'll just jump in here and show you where that is at and what it looks like. Classic. I'll go to my setup bar here. So here's the Migration Assistant Lightning Experience. Get started. So I'll just click around here. So here's the new tabs. So Learn. So this is more of, what is Lightning and what, why would I want to move there? So watch a video, compare, start trial. So compare, you can actually take what you have in your org today and compare it to what you would get with Lightning. Check readiness. So that's your readiness report. So if I wanted to run this report, you would just click this button, check readiness. Preview, this is where you can actually preview your org today in a Lightning experience. Optimize with features. So these are different things that come with Lightning. Set up users, so you can fine tune this. And actually, one thing that we didn't touch on is with Summer 17, if you are in Lightning and you have a problem of users jumping back and forth between Lightning and Classic, you can actually lock the users to using one or the other. So if you want them to be in Lightning, you can lock them down to just be in Lightning. So if you have further questions on how to do that, feel free to reach out. So yeah, that's the migration assistant. Turn on. That would be, let's move forward with Lightning. Yeah, let's get back here. So the last thing we wanted to touch on is Einstein. So a few of us went to the Chicago World Tour, the Salesforce World Tour last weekend, and the big thing that was raved about throughout the tour was Einstein. So we figured we'd talk about it here and just kind of let you know what it is and why Salesforce keeps talking about it. So Einstein is Salesforce's AI tool, so it would be running in the background of your Salesforce instance, and it's where they're moving. I think what they really want is everyone to start using the AI tool within their instance. One thing is it's not a free feature yet. There's some things that they have, and I think since it's so new, they are adding a user cost to it. But what does it, what does it give you as far as added functionality? It gives you it's a machine learning tool, so it's however you're clicking around in your system, the Einstein is learning it as you go, and it brings together the different things of what makes your business successful. So it's really just learning how you do things day to day, and any of that analytical thought process that you could use your data for. The goal is to have Einstein really do that for you and take the guesswork out of your opportunities, out of your leads, out of whatever you may have metrics on. So where does it live? There's multiple different places that it can live, as you can see here, and we'll send out this slide deck because I know there's a lot of content on the screen here. So it can be on your Sales Cloud, it can be on your Commerce Cloud, App Cloud. So I can read through all of them. It can really be anywhere within your Salesforce. And as things progress, they're projecting artificial intelligence to kind of take over the market. They showed a graph. And I don't have a picture of the graph, but before this was IoT, and they projected that to be a $1 million, couple $1 million investment, and businesses are going to keep investing in that. They're projecting the artificial intelligence to be a $1 trillion business. I mean, I'll keep moving here. So Einstein forecasting. So the reason I say this is because Facebook, face recognition, Amazon kind of knowing what you want. Those are all artificial intelligence running in the background that are there today. So they can see that being part of a day-to-day for any business. So as you can see here, here's an example of Einstein forecasting. So on the right-hand side here, right here, that's all the different criteria that's being brought in to give you this forecast here. So based on what you have in your pipeline, they're forecasting you to beat your goal by the end of the year. So they're just, all this data is being plotted, and they're taking the guesswork out of what should we forecast. And then here's an example of it in the lead scoring. So based on what we have as far as information on this lead, we have a title of owner, phone is valid, zip code, email is valid, and industry is not given. So that's a knock against the lead score. But as it sits right now, Einstein's predicting it to be 83, and this is all based on what you've converted in the past. So just from me looking at this, I would say the likelihood of a lead closing when you're an owner, that's a good, that projects it to close more often. So obviously in the past, you've converted leads that are similar to Jackie Hernandez here up on the screen. So just a little different way of thinking, and I think it's an exciting thing. Salesforce is real excited about it. They're all in on it, and it was neat to see how things are progressing. So a lot more to come with that. And like I said, it isn't free today, but it could potentially be something that's included with Salesforce in the future as they continue to release out new features. So yeah, that is all we have for today. As far as resources, for the Summer 17 release notes, you're able to click on this link here and it will take you out. So I'll just click on it. There's 2 locations where you can find the release notes. They actually moved it up top here, so you can click right here on the release notes to see that. Watch an overview video. That's a pretty good video of all the different new features. It'll highlight a lot of Einstein, like I said. That's their big thing right now. If you were to go down here, it also all the way down. So I would recommend just clicking on the one on the top, but it is also down here. Gosh. Release notes. Join the release community, get the release notes, Spring 17 release, and the release notes are down here. So Summer 17 release. So that is the resource for the Summer 17 release notes. And that is all we have today, so I'm going to kick it back to Andy. Thanks for tuning in, and he'll send out a link to the recording, and also he'll send out the slide deck. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
All right, thanks guys for taking the time to bring us some great content that admins and users can start taking advantage of right away. Before we close things out, I do want to mention some great LedU Partners resources that everyone can take advantage of, along with, as Tony showed, those Salesforce resources. We have a great blog that you can subscribe to. If you're not subscribed already, be sure to check that out. You can click on when you click on the blog link, you'll see, as they have shown there, enter in your email address, and then you're able to subscribe to any Salesforce blog posts. So when Tony and the guys send out tips, tricks, updates, they're all going to be posted on the blog. So if you're subscribed, you'll get an email notification right away when a new blog post is up, so you can check that out. So be sure to do that. We also encourage you to check out our YouTube channel, LVP CRM. We have tons of videos on anything and everything CRM, including Salesforce, marketing automation, thought leadership, and more. So be sure to head over and take a look at some of the videos as well. Finally, the best resource is our website. If you're unfamiliar with us and have any questions about our company or services, you can contact us on our website through the Contact Us link, or email us at contactus@ledupartners.com. I encourage you to also browse through the site and view some of our great content. There's more videos out there, more resources, ebooks, and again, check out the blog. All right, just a reminder, everyone who registered for today's webinar, you're going to get email with a link to the on-demand recording. And I encourage you to share that with other Salesforce admins and users, whether they're in your company or network. And thanks again for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.